everyone. Thank you and welcome to this session that we have. We're honored very much to have Kun Arkhom with us again today. Without much further ado, let me begin by just asking you, just in general, your views on the Thai economy, how it is progressing, what is the NESDB's outlook for the economy next year. Let's begin with that. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And we have just released our second quarter data on the GDP, and what we have seen is the confidence in the Thai economy after 22nd of May, both the consumer confidence and the investor confidence, and we could see the several economic indicator has been improving. So from the first quarter we got the minus 0.4, and then we can get back in the second quarter by positive size of the GDP. And we expect we hope that for the second half of this year that the economy will be recover. Looking at our export number, which we were doing quite well in June by 3% increase of our export. So we hope that by the second half, together with the government spending, that after 22nd of May, all the government agencies, they are resuming the disbursement of the government budget. So we expect the whole year that what we could do is at the maximum rate of the 2% of the economic growth.
I must tell you that I've also been asked often by clients about export. There's been a concern that export has not been recovering all that aggressively, all that well. And what sort of reasons you think caused that, and what do you think could be done to improve the outlook?
Yeah. Actually, our export sector, we were not performing well for 2 or 3 years already.
Yes.
At our capacity for the export rate of growth is about normally is 10 to 15%, but for recent years that about very low, 2 or 3%. But we have to accept that for the last year, the main problem is our agricultural export, ranging from the frozen chicken to Japan, which is the big market for Thailand, and now resumed because Japan has allowed import of the frozen chicken from Thailand. And again, last year we also had the problem with the shrimp, which is also the big earning item for Thailand as well. So the third one is the rice export. The rice export, because of our rice, as everybody knows that as compared to our neighboring country, we are much higher than the other country. But for the rice and the rice tapioca, then we could do better in the May and June. And I think right now the government, particularly the NCPO policy, is try to release more rice to the export market. So that's the main issue. Secondly, I think for the industrial commodities, especially for again the labor-intensive products, we are losing the competitiveness as compared to our neighboring country. That also bring to the policy of the NCPO and for the next government as well, how to increase our competitiveness in all products of this. So I think the main issue is the agricultural product that has caused our weakening in our export sector.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me move on. You were talking about government spending, and obviously people in this room and other investors are very much interested in the recently approved strategic plan to develop Thailand's infrastructure project. A lot have been mentioned in the press already, but I would still like you to provide us with some highlights, how it differs from previous plans, and how does this plan now fit in with Thailand's overall development and strategy.
When we're talking about the government spending, there are two parts. The one is on the government agencies spending, I mean the bureaucratic system. The secondly is the spending by the state-owned enterprises. For the government, I mean the government agencies, I think the major part of the infrastructure that has been put in the national budget are two sectors. One is on the irrigation project. Secondly, on the road construction. That's two main items that we put in the national budget. But they are very unfortunate that for last year, particularly for the budget 2014, which is is going to end by this September, within next month. There are several projects has been withdrawn from the national budget and put in the 2 trillion baht infrastructure development bill last year, and very unfortunate the law could not be passed because of the ruling of the court anyway. So that's why the infrastructure has been delayed for quite some time in 2014. Secondly, the infrastructure project by state-owned enterprise. We have to understand that not only the transport sector, but also the energy sector. For the energy sector, there's nothing to do with the 2 trillion baht project by the previous government. Energy sector keep investing. I mean, particularly for the EGAT or PEA or the MEA, Metropolitan Electricity Authority. Energy sector still keep investing. The plan has been approved by the cabinet, by the recommendation of the NESDB. So the investment in the infrastructure like the energy sector or the other like, for example, the water supply in all major cities, they still keep investing because it's different, separate from the national budget, okay? But the most important things that we mostly talking about is the transport sector. Transport sector always vary depending on the government, the policy. I think what we're discussing is about the rail project and the mass transit system in Bangkok. The focus of the NCPO, the main difference between the NCPO and the previous government, only one project is the high-speed train. From the previous government, we aim quite ambitious, I have to say that, because having the high-speed train in Thailand, our longest distance is between Bangkok and the southern province, which is about 1,000 kilometers. But Bangkok-Chiang Mai is about 700 kilometers. But when we look at in some country in Asia, like Japan, the feasibility of the project depends on the distance as well. Okay, but our distance is a bit too short. It's a bit too short. So only the high-speed train has been under preparation. When I'm saying that under preparation, meaning is doing more detailed study on the high-speed train. But the rest of the rail project will be the same. Okay, and when we come back to when we talking about the rail project, I think it's clear by the NCPO policy that first the double track system has to be improved. Actually, the double track system has been endorsed by the government in 2010, but because of the policy change, we want to have the more modern rail system. So we forget about the old system that should be improved. The easiest way to improve the rail system in Thailand is just put one more track, in order for the logistic of the commodity, for the transport of goods, you see. and also the passenger. So it's very easy. So the policy has been focused on the double track system. Secondly, in order to have instead of having the high-speed train, the speed about 250 or up to 300, but we will have the standard gauge, as Chief Marshal mentioned this morning, 1.4, which is standard gauge, and will be electrified train. This will be the idea is there will be the linking between or connecting between the capital city in ASEAN. So this will be the addition to the rail project, apart from the double track. So we will have the standard gauge system. But how soon we can start the construction of the standard gauge, really depending on the readiness of the project, which is under study by the Ministry of Transport. But I think this is more ready than having the high-speed train. Okay, so meaning is we will have the double track and we will have the standard gauge, like many other countries that still keep the old system. So we have run two systems parallelly. Okay.
You mentioned the electrified 1.4 meter gauge train linking the capital cities of ASEAN. I think that's something new, and that is something that the NCPO, as you said, has already endorsed, and will keep going. Okay. Would you care to expand on that in terms of the strategy overall?
Our strategy, even we recommend to the previous government as well, when we're talking about the high-speed train in the previous government, the idea is the linking between the capital city of the ASEAN and to the non-ASEAN country. For example, from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur. Right now, from Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok, we have the 1 meter gauge. But since Singapore and Malaysia, they already upgrade to the standard gauge. So why not we change to the system so that the train can run through this country? So Singapore, Malaysia, Bangkok, Nong Khai, and Vientiane of Lao PDR, and go to Kunming, which is the long, in the past, we may have heard about the Singapore Kunming rail link, which is over 30 years, I think. But that's a very long route. But this will be very much possible for the construction in the future. The idea behind is once we have the infrastructure, what kind of economic benefit to this infrastructure? Of course, people can travel between country to country doing business. If you can have choice. I mean, if you don't fly, then you can use the train from Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok, or you doing business in Hat Yai or in some city in the south. The idea behind is we have to create the spatial economic, what we call the spatial economic zone. The route that we select, one out of the 6 border checkpoint is the Padang Besar, which is the border between Thailand and Malaysia. So how we bring the economic or the industry to the area. I'm talking about the Padang Besar as the linking site between two countries. But there are still some other border checkpoints that, lots of the trading volume between the Thailand and neighboring country. Sadao, which is also, we have a plan to open the new border checkpoint, especially for the goods. I mean, many of you may have been to Sadao. Sadao border checkpoint is very congested right now. It's a mix-up between the passenger car and the truck. The truck has been queuing for 1 or 2 kilometers every morning on Thailand side. So why not we have the new one? The same idea will be applied to the Sa Kaeo border area, which the same, Aranyapathet Poipet, very congested. So we're going to open the new gateway to the Cambodia. So there are several areas that we have. The idea has been endorsed by the NCPO to open and upgrade and develop the 6 special economic zone. Okay. So having the infrastructure first or the special economic zone first is really depend on the different model in these 6 areas.
And do you think that the special economic zone idea can advance more quickly?
I think so. And we have to go back to the year 2004. Actually, at that time, the cabinet endorsed the 2 pilot projects on the Mae Sot and Chiang Rai. But since the budget has not been allocated properly, so the project seems to be fading. But we reactivate this kind of policy again. Mae Sot is another border checkpoint that we are going to open the new border area. Mae Sot is one of the biggest border that we are doing the trading with Myanmar. I think it's possible because of one more reason, because of the agricultural products from neighboring country. The policy on the agricultural or what we call it the contract farming with the neighboring country, because of the influx of the commodity from neighboring country, and right now, particularly for the last 2 years, we cannot distinguish between the products importing from neighboring country and the product that we produce ourselves. And under the rice pledging scheme and the commodity subsidy program, is all mixed up. So we have to differentiate this kind of product. So limit the importation of the agricultural commodity and process here in Thailand and the export, or go to the other processing factory in Thailand as well. So I think the special economic zone has been committed by the special committee on the special economic zone, chaired by the chief of NCPO, and in the future will be chaired by the Prime Minister. So we have to, according to the order of the chief of NCPO, at least 1 out of 6 has to be happen by next year. And he is really committed to the ASEAN community, because in the year 2015 we have to open all the borders to the ASEAN.
I think it seems that a lot of things is happening all at the same time: the trade, the tourism, the investment, and even the infrastructure that we are contemplating for Thailand and neighboring countries. Economic integration is happening all the time. It might sound a bit confusing, but obviously it's continuing to happen. Let me follow up on this, because the Air Chief Marshal Prajin also talked about expanding Thailand's seaport facility to the south, Pak Bara and other areas. Would you care to elaborate on how that fits in with the overall strategy?
Well, the idea of the southern seaport, especially in Pak Bara, which is the southernmost province in Thailand. The idea of having the deep seaport over there is to open the western gate for Thailand. Because the logistic cost in Thailand right now is about 14%, and half of them is on transportation, and mainly for the land transport. But in order to reduce our logistic cost of our export sector, of course, right now all our goods go to Singapore. But if we have our own deep seaport, then it's easier for exporter. But the Pak Bara seaport, we still have to care for the environment impact, as well as the health impact assessment as well. So we have to listen to the voice of people. Actually, when talking about a deep seaport, you cannot have the deep seaport alone, but you have to have some industry behind the port, you see. Exactly the same in Malaysia. I've been to the one of the big seaport of Malaysia, which is the candidate of the Singapore. Malaysia also want to have their own deep sea port for the country. Thailand is the same, but the Pak Bara is a bit near to the one of the most beautiful island. So we have to carefully look at how feasible. Actually, the recommendation of the NESDB is why not, since the goods from the south, not so much, but mainly the goods from Bangkok or from the eastern seaboard is much more bigger volume than the produced in the south. So why not we scale down of the Pak Bara port and make it as a multi-purpose seaport that will help making people more happier for the southern people. But how we solve the problem of the transport cost, the sea transport. Lam Chabang also we still have the area of expansion of the deep sea port in Lam Chabang. Right now we are on the second phase of the Lam Chabang seaport development. Still some area, but what we have to do is to open more coastal port. Pak Bara, Lam Chabang. There's much talking about how we open the coastal transport in Lam Chabang to receive the goods from the north of Thailand, because the river transport is much more cheaper. So make more use of the river transport, connect to the coastal transport. That will help the increase the capacity and reduce the cost of our transport of goods and products. Yeah.
Well, now I think we'd like to move.
Yes. Sorry, there's another point that I want to mention on the Western Gate.
Right.
Because the Pak Bara is one of the projects in our logistic development plan. Again, we are also talking about how to cooperate with the neighboring country. Then we come up with the southern, what we call the southern corridor under the Greater Mekong Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation. What I'm talking is the southern corridors is linking the connectivity between the way deep sea port in Myanmar, and then by a distance of 130 kilometers you can reach the Kanchanaburi border, and from Kanchanaburi easily go to Lam Chabang another 200, about 300. Altogether it's 400 between the way deep sea port to Lam Chabang deep sea port. By having the cooperate with the Myanmar and some other partner to develop the deep sea port, I think this is another possibility that Thailand can open the new gateway to the western and reduce the cost of transport to the south.
Let me move on, if I may, to implementation. I think there's been always a perception that Thailand's ability to implement has fallen short. Even very small a matter, for example, that has been raised is there have been an attempt to scrutinize procurement projects, and that is slowing things down. What is your view just on that part at all by the NCPO?
I think it's good policy that the NCPO wants to make policy clear for the transparency. I mean, all the mega projects by the government or the state-owned enterprise, there are lots of criticism on the procurement system. I can say, for one example is when we're talking about the rail project, there's always the issue of how when we can expand our rail system. I mean, in terms of the distance, improving the double track. But again, we had the experience in 2006 when the oil price increased up to over 100 US dollar per barrel. You see, At that time, we saw the problems of the logistic cost of the companies. So we suggested to quickly construct the double track between the Lat Krabang and Lam Chabang. So at that time, it's proved that that can help a lot to reduce the cost of the oil. Okay, but the problem again, we didn't have enough the locomotive. The NESDB and the cabinet already endorsed the procurement of the more locomotive for the state railway of Thailand. You see, but the procurement procedure taking a long time. So that's why the NCPO want to make sure that there's no influence on the procurement system. I think it's good for not only the competitors of the vendors, but also the good for the price of for the consumer. You see. But again, I would say that many of us may wonder, the projects always endorsed or recommended by the NSB, but the decision-making process and the procurement process, I think we have to differentiate. In NSDB, actually my office have to recommend to the cabinet all the mega project investment. My process keep continue, no matter changing in any government, and no matter changing in the policy. But the line ministry has to be firm in the project according to the master plan. So once they have master plan, they submit the project to NSB. We doing my job and submit to the government. But if you change the government so many times, then it's a problem. Right now, the projects like mass transit in Bangkok, there are 2 more lines to be waiting for the approval from the NCPO or the new government. The orange and the pink line actually is ready to be approved. But the NCPO want to make sure that the process of the approval is transparent. They have what they call the scrutiny committee of the NCPO to look at the detail of the project and the project cost and how to proceed after the NCPO approve the project. So NCPO want to make sure that all projects are transparent. Even there's some proposal from the private sector by introducing the cost. Cost is one of the practice originate in England that has been used by many countries for the big investment project. So I think the implementation actually really depend on the procurement system.
You don't think, though, that this will slow things down too much?
I don't think so. I think the NCPO policy is clear that we are. If you don't walk, and your friends are walking faster than you, step back. You see, you're lacking behind. And right now, I think we lost opportunity for several years for the infrastructure development.
Well, let me move on then to the infrastructure project that the NCPO has endorsed itself, and move on to the budget that's been allocated to these projects for next year. Can you elaborate a bit on that, and how far they can go for next year?
I think once the 2 trillion baht project has been not scrapped, but not able to move, then all the preparation of the budget goes to the 2015 national budget, which we are waiting to be approved by the National Legislative Assembly. As I said, we lost the time in 2014 because some of the investment project has been withdrawn from the national budget to put in the 2 trillion baht. And again, once the 2 trillion baht has been scrapped, and then we go back to the national budget. But most of the land appropriation will be using the national budget for all the rail project on motorway and the rural road construction has been giving the priority in the 2015. And not only the infrastructure, but also the special economic zone, particularly building the custom border checkpoint, the second one in Mae Sot, in Sa Kaeo, and also in Sadao as well. So I think the financing is clear that we come back to the national budget, allocate a certain essential part of the cost of the project.
Looking ahead, when this government, the NCPO government, is obviously going to be here just for a year or so, but the projects will continue onwards. The NCPO deputy chief actually also mentioned the possibility of having these projects again put under legislation. What is your view on that? How possible would that be? In other words, you basically issue a law, right, to require subsequent governments to carry out these projects.
That is the one option. Actually, I used to mention this idea to the previous government as well. So in order having the borrowing law for the infrastructure, but why not we have the infrastructure development law? Once again, it's quite different from some country. I can say, for example, the China. China, they put in the law, and not only the projects, but also the financing, the budget. You see, but in Thailand, since we are not confident that we don't know how to finance. But why not put the project list and the approximate cost of the project to the bill and endorsed by the parliament, and then no any other government can change the law. So every government who comes to the power, they have to continue the project. When I say that no any other government can change, again, MP can change it and can change it. Law. But at least it's not so easy. But once the law has been in effect, then the people know. And if you want to change, you have to have the reasonable explanation to the people. So I think it's good. I mean, or even in my case, national economic and social development plan is not a law. It's not a law, but it's the national plan. It's the national guideline, which is the endorsed by His Majesty the King. It's not a law, but it has to be implemented. But some people say that, it's not a law, so I don't have to. I have just to follow the government policy. If I don't follow the government policy, then I don't get any budget. And look at 2 years ago, everybody goes to follow the government policy, and what is the result? And the result is that you have the unnecessary budget item in the national budget. Some of them can be is not the burden of the government. It could be the consumer. I don't want to criticize more on this, but there are some unnecessary budget expenditure.
Let me follow up on another issue that has obviously been an important consideration, which is the public-private sector participation. What is the progress on that? Obviously, the NCPO had mentioned, others have also mentioned that they'd like to see private financing these big infrastructure projects amounting to something like 20 or 30% or so of total project cost. How is that developing?
I think the private sector participation, there are two parts. I think one is how private sector involved in the project development, in the project itself. I think we still follow the same principle. I mean, the public and private. The government will take care of all of the civil construction. But the operation will be granted to the private sector. That's one part. Okay. Secondly, how to finance, how the private sector involved in terms of the ownership of the project. Not only private sector but also the people. Then we're talking about how we mobilize the fund. Obviously, for some state enterprise, they are more happier to borrow from the bank. I mean, for the good reputation state enterprise, But if you keep borrowing from the bank, then the question is how we develop our capital market. Then we try to, the Minister of Finance try to set up the infrastructure fund. I think that's the one possible option for the private sector participation in the funding of the project.
Okay. Let me ask you in the final 3 or so minutes of our session here. Suppose all goes well and we are here in the year, say, 2020. What would Thailand look like in the year 2020?
The Professor Schwab, when we had the World Economic Forum on East Asia in Thailand, before he decided to come to Bangkok. He asked me the first question that is it true or is it a dream that in the future the people in the Asia can travel across the country easily, just like in Europe? Because the train will run from Singapore to China. So I told him that it's not a dream, it's true. And it's true now because the people can be traveling from one country to the other country, not by rail at this moment, but by road. So in the future, we are working together with the 6 countries in the Greater Mekong Sub-Regional Economic Cooperation. And within the ASEAN regional ASEAN Master Plan on Connectivity, we are committed to make the people and the business can link in this area. So I think the 2020, at least the more rails connectivity will be coming true, I think. So seamless connectivity in Thailand, in this region that I would like to see in 2020. And people can move and doing business more easily, and particularly at the border area.
All right, Kun Arkhom, I'll wait for that. I want to do that travel too. With that, let me thank everyone and thank Kun Arkhom very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.